I am ready.
Okay, great, go ahead.
Call the meeting to order of the Historic Preservation, August 16th. And has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda? Everybody's in favor of that? Kate, would you like to start in on the, oh no, we need the minutes approved.
We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, the agenda and the minutes, okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Joel Little, Lance, done. Okay, the minutes for July the 19th. Has everyone had a chance to go over them, see if there are any errors, updates? If everything appears to be fine, I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Jolie? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those, nobody's against, everybody said yes. So, Kate, we're gonna let you take it over.
Okay, first I'd like to say welcome to our two new commissioners, Aaron Smith and Luke High School. We really appreciate you and your willingness to serve, and we're thrilled to have you. All right, I'm gonna share my screen so we can talk about case number 642. Let's see. So I'll take you guys through the staff report, and then the applicant's architect is here as well to answer any questions that you all may have. Let's see.
Okay,
Yes.
I may be stepping out of line, but before we do, on those, if we have a question about the administrative approvals, are we gonna wait after this?
The administrative approvals, we don't discuss at the meeting. They've already been approved, and
Okay.
but I'm happy to talk with you about one after, but we, and
Okay, all right.
it's different than the consent agenda, and that they've already been
Okay, all right.
approved.
I just
and
thought we, in the past, had discussed them, but that's fine.
yeah, that's just to get them on the public record.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just leave it on the front page for now. So we're discussing 503 Van Buren Avenue, which is a house in the South Lamar Historic District. The applicant requests approval to remove portions of the existing building and significantly add on, altering the front, right, and rear elevations. The existing building is listed as non-contributing in the South Lamar Historic District, and it has been highly altered. It's possible to discern that the house was originally a gable and wing cottage, though the original massing and layout have been obscured by additions. The Historic Resource Inventory Survey that was attached to the staff report dates the structure circa 1900. The portion of the building which staff believes to be original is the left westernmost front gable with the projecting bay and portions of the existing front porch. Though the roof over the porch is clearly a later addition, this application respects those portions of the house as original, and it appears the applicant plans to retain those elements without significant alteration. The commission must evaluate the proposed design using the new additions portion of the Oxford Design Guidelines. The applicant's proposal includes the addition of a large front gable addition and to rework and expand the existing rear and side additions. The proposal also includes the addition of a basement level garage located at the side of the building. According to the Oxford Design Guidelines, a new addition to a historic building is considered successful if it A, preserves significant historic materials and features, B, preserves the historic character, and C, protects the historic significance by making a visual distinction by what is old and what is new. So it's rarely acceptable to add on to a primary elevation, but the difference here is that this building is listed as non-contributing, and the portions that the applicant is reworking, staff does not appear to be original. The commission may choose to approve the change in this instance in adding on to a primary elevation. The proposed front and right easternmost side addition is complementary of the style and age of the building, yet the design of the projecting bays and different arrangement of the windows allows it to clearly read as new, which is something that is often, that's a big part of the new additions recommendations of the design guidelines. The proposed materials are appropriate for use in the historic district on this building as well as on the street. And then the last item is that the applicant's proposing to remove the existing driveway and utilize an existing curb cut to install a new concrete driveway further east to the east on the property. The engineering department reviewed that proposal and is generally supportive if the applicant is proposing to install a curb along Van Buren and maintain a sidewalk where the curb cut and the driveway exist. So you'll see that in the conditions of approval. Staff recommends approval of the COA as proposed with the condition that final specs for windows and doors are approved by planning staff prior to the issuance of a permit. That's just because they weren't included here, and the guidelines are specific that new windows should be true or simulated divided light. And that 2, prior to the issuance of any building permits, the final design of the improvements to the sidewalk and curb should be approved by the city engineering department. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have about the staff report, or we can bring Michael up to present. You want to come forward? And if there's any specific pages you want me to go to, I have everything you submitted here. Oh, are they going to do the overhead? Great. That works.
Hello, my name is Michael Jones, the architect for this project.
Michael, would you speak into this a little bit?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Michael Jones, and I'm the architect for this project, and been trying to help the Bridges with their house. I did kind of, I've done a lot of research in regards to this house and a lot of hot attics visits and that sort of thing to try to kind of dissect this house, what it was originally. My background is I also have a master's in historic preservation from Texas A&M. So I've done this type of stuff before, but I did want to show you right now, this house is just eclectic. I mean, they added on and added on, and it's just terrible what they did to this house. So I wanted to try to get back close to a clean slate. This is kind of the layout of the roof, the way it is now. As you can see, it was added on, well, at least twice, probably more like 4 or 5 times. But the main masses of the building, and then in several instances where there was a porch, they enclosed the porch here as well as the porch here. And then enclosed another section there, and then they added on a garage at one point in time. So it's really terrible what they've done to this house over time. But anyway, so what our design strategy was to get the building back down to kind of the bare bones of what we feel like was originally there historically. So this is kind of the way we feel like it probably ended up based on the past research and stuff that we've been doing. This is pretty typical of this kind of Victorian type house. And then they eventually added on this and then the back section. So what we're proposing is, a lot of times in historic preservation, as you know, proportion is important. And so trying to make sure that we have similar proportions, but not necessarily mimicking the other side of the historic architecture. So I do feel like this portion on the left side of the elevation is historic, and we should try to keep that intact as part of Oxford's history. But I do feel like we need to kind of respect it, but to use the same proportions. And so what I did is I have a 1.3 scale to this version of this other, and to this other wing that's going over here is the new. The owner and their program, to me, wanted to have a two-story section. I felt like a full two-story was too much, and that we needed to try to scale it, you know, appropriately and not overwhelm the historic architecture that was there. So, so that what we did is that we went with kind of a 1.5 story, so they can kind of get what they wanted, and we can also stay with a proportion that would basically complement existing architecture. And the rest is, you know, kind of their future plans of wanting to turn the back into a pool and all that, and that's kind of future stuff. But basically, this wing and this portion, I had that turned off. I apologize. And they wanted this big back porch, so that's what we put in the program. So anyway, does that kind of explain a little bit of our design intent and direction of what we tried to go? Is there any way to switch it back to the other elevations, and let's look at, so I wanted you to see the massing, you know, so you can kind of understand where we were coming from as far as trying to try to be appropriate as far as having the best design that we could. And if you could go to the colored rendering. So
Is this a single-family residence, or is it going to remain a rental unit, or?
it's going to be a single family residence now. So they're going to move back to Oxford. And so, so as you can see, that there's a similar proportion, but it's a little bit bigger scale, a little bit more contemporary looking, and not mimicking. I mean, some people make the mistake, I think, of mimicking historic architecture and just, you know, just kind of rubber stamping the other side. And so that was one of the things we were trying to stay away from. So we have bigger windows, but same proportion, and opens things up. And one of the things the owner was wanting was that balcony up above. So that's what we did. We did it kind of more of a discreet way. Anyway, that's kind of the overall look, to try to pull everything together, but have the new and the old kind of complement each other. So that's kind of where we are.
Could you tell me what the square footage is of the area prior to you wanting to do this addition?
Yeah, we have that on the drawing that I sent that is on the site plan. So if you can pull that up, it should be up at the top on your sheet, before and after. Now that new house does include the upstairs, so it's a similar footprint to the existing house.
Is that heating and cooling? Because you have a
Yeah, that's heating and cooling.
garage as
Yeah.
well. Heating and
That's
cooling.
heating and cooling. Mhm. None of the downstairs is heated and cooled.
Did you say the driveway will be moved somewhat to the east?
Yeah, you see the hatched, diagonal hatched area in front of the long part of the building? Do you want me to point that out?
Bottom center of the screen, there's the hatched existing driveway.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take that, turn that back into lawn and landscaping. That was the kind of the built-on old garage that they had, and then they left that there, and then they filled in the garage. So traditionally, and I feel like probably historically, the curb cut was already there for that side. So what we did is we did have to pull it over just a little bit to maintain the ordinance, the 10-foot ordinance. But we have a good size drive there.
What's the distance between the condominium structure and the edge of your driveway? What distance between?
It's about 6 feet, I believe.
6 feet?
Mm-hmm. So just enough for some landscaping. Go to the elevation, that side elevation if we can. So if you look at the side elevation, you can see how it slopes down and kind of goes under. there. So, I did have two separate entrances for the drive, but the owner wanted a 18-foot wide because they have a big SUV that they put in there, so I feel like it'd be harder to get in and out, so. But it's lower than the street, so it won't really be seen if we landscape appropriately.
I know there's no mention of a pool, but you did just mention that they do have future plans to put a pool in the back?
Possibility, yeah. Mhm. But I mean, we're well within the pervious and non-pervious requirements for the site, so.
Is that front porch that was so deep, or that is so deep right now, is it gonna push back and get a little, not as deep with the new plans? I can't.
Well, what I did is I did pull out the new addition a little more, and so that it would give that, the owner wanted to keep it that deep. I had pushed it back originally in one of my design schemes, but they wanted to have that much because they wanted to be able to have a furniture out front. You know, they're really into the ball games and everything, and wanted to be able to sit on the front porch with, you know, people in.
Does it raise up at all? I mean, does it look more like a porch? Right now, it looks like a bat cave, you know, it's just,
That's right, yeah.
I mean, it's a hole. In the
Exactly, yeah.
Really.
Well, the grade is really too high, and we're gonna bring that grade down a good bit.
Yep.
The grade is at the point to where it's really kind of hindering the structure, especially around that existing portion. So that's one of the things that we're gonna try to do is kind of dig out that area a little bit, kind of show some of that plinth, you know, of the building to make it look a little better. I have about 18 inches is what I'm trying to achieve, but this is one of those houses or buildings that you kind of have to see what you get, because demo and this I mean, it's going to be a chore to try to sift through. If we find something that I feel like is original, I will recommend to the owner that they keep it. And so, you know, I'm a preservationist at heart and would like that to occur. But yeah, you're exactly right. It does need some height.
Well, it needs to be shallower or taller.
Yeah.
Because the way it is now, it's like a letter slot, you know?
Right.
It just doesn't seem right on the front of that
Yeah.
house. And now's your chance to make it kind of.
Make it that way.
Right.
Well, I mean, historically, the porch roof was underneath the actual eave of the roof above it, and not engaged into what you see a lot now. That's kind of a more modern approach to that sort of thing, which is what we ended up having to do on the backside. But that's one of those things as we begin to kind of look at the demo, and there's a lot of material that we're probably going to have to replace in regards to there's a lot of rotting on that porch, and so as we begin construction, I'm curious to find out, you know, what the bones are under there. I mean, I couldn't rip up the porch or anything, so so it's just kind of a process at this point.
Is the bay window, the front facade, are you making that, are you keeping the bay window in the left side of that house, or are
Yes.
you gonna do a replica of that?
No, I'm keeping that bay window and trying to restore that portion of the house, okay?
Okay.
That siding, I don't believe is original, and in our investigation with Kate, and we want to get a siding that, obviously, that's consistent for the whole house. We had some recommendations of siding, the artisan hardy board siding, which I know is not historic for the whole house, but since it's non-contributing, I said, well, we don't really want it to rot anymore. And in my experience with trying to put pine shiplap on a building, historic building, it's really hard to maintain.
For a no rot product, the artisan is the way to go.
Yeah.
Looks, I mean, it's so thick, it looks correct. When it's
Yeah, I want it to look correct, but, you know, at this point, if I was doing a true preservation, you know, preserving that side of the house, if it was contributing, I would have kept that and tried to restore whatever was original. On the back side of the house, on this side, you can tell where they added on a gable end onto that, and you can tell where the siding stopped and started.
Well, I think that's important enough that, you know, you've put that in your specs. I would hope you will abide by that and not decide money's tight and scale back to 3/16" hardy board, because it'd make a huge difference in the look of that project.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're not interested in being cheap on this client side, so. That's what they told me, so. They want to do it right, and they want a place that they can be proud of here in Oxford. So. Any other questions?
Does anybody have anything
Concerns?
they would like to add or inquire about? I will say it's a big improvement with the garages on the front. I always wondered about that with that house.
Oh yeah, it's one of those that somebody got a hold of and just added on so they could put students in. So.
And from the front, it doesn't appear to be as big as what you're actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, we really question sizes when you're doing something. Your front looks, doesn't appear at all like what you're doing.
I did this once before when I had a similar like this, and if you go to the fire station in Vicksburg, Mississippi, we did an addition to that. I did the addition to that building, and there was a 1928 fire station that had 3 bays, and it was classical architecture. You know, it's beautiful. And they said, we want to add 2 more bays to this historic fire station. I was like, Lord, how do you do this? And so we ended up having a separate kind of thing to the side. I blew up I did a similar thing with blowing up the proportions a little bit to give a more contemporary look, but given a historic look as well to kind of go with the area. I wish I could show you a picture of it, but you should Google it and see. And but it's a similar concept. It's used a lot in historic preservation design when you're doing adaptive reuse or additions to historic structures.
I can't say that I'm excited about the little balcony on front.
The what now?
I'm not sure I'm excited about the balcony on the front of the house.
I understand. Yeah. The owner did, like to entertain possibly putting the balcony in the center between the two and just do a shed roof if you want to entertain that idea. They would like to bring some light into that middle section. So, so there's some possibilities of that if you want me to bring back some options, but
I agree with you on that. That was the one thing that struck me.
Yeah, it looks almost out of place, actually.
well, right now I don't have the railing done the way I want to do. Kind of an investigation of kind of mimicking some historic, not mimicking, but something that's similar to some of the Victorian. They have a kind of a hatch pattern that they have that's this way, not as far as lattice where it'd be diagonal, it'd be straight up and down, and this way that I've seen that looks appropriate. And as I go, I'm going to bounce everything off of Kate anyway. As we go through this, I think it's important to get this right. So, and just look at the options that we have for that.
Well,
So
tell me what that room is.
that is just a bedroom up above. So
But not a master.
not a master, no.
What purpose, I guess, does that balcony serve?
The owner to go out and look while everybody's at the game.
That's not egress.
Yeah. No, it's not egress at all. It's just to be able to go outside and see the street. So it's not a big thing. They would love to make it huge. If you want me to do a version huge, I was trying to kind of minimize that, but if you want me to try to make it bigger, we'll try to make it bigger and go to the other side over the porch. That's one option.
When you said the other side, you're talking about the historic side?
I'm talking about the place the part in between. Yeah, it would be partially the historic side, yeah. Is to do like a shed dormer right there.
I think I'd object to that more.
And put,
To do that, wouldn't you have to raise the roof there?
would probably have to do that, yeah. So,
Right now, the way.
that was my
I'm
only
looking-
opportunity to kind of do that in that area, if you can see the whole.
I actually think from your porch over to the west, it just is so in line with that house, but then when you look at this part to the east, the upstairs just kind of
Well,
seem to fit.
but if you look at the proportion, they're the same. If you blow that up, if you blow that smaller historic portion up and you blow that up, that's the exact same proportion of that portion. Now, what you're trying to do is you're trying to put what might have been there and mimic the architecture of that over to here and do a one-story version. You could do that, but that's not usually recommended when you're doing new architecture in the historic district, is you want to distinguish the new from the old.
Exactly.
And so we held on to some of the things like the proportion, which is very important in historic preservation, and when you add on to buildings, and then try to, it's more of a contemporary version of that. So anyway.
Well, in the middle, I would just no, absolutely, and compared to what's there now, it's a big improvement, although the balcony's not my favorite, but it's still a big improvement over what's there now.
And I just wanted, I appreciate that you're working with the original structure so carefully, because we've seen that not happen before, instead of just wanting to tear it down and start over, and I think it is a huge improvement.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage the owner that they save that portion, because I thought, that's important. Even though it's not, was classified as non-contributing, I do think that side of the house was contributing. But evidently it wasn't enough because they had changed it so much.
I think that's the reason.
Yeah.
When you get down to the bare bones, it is contributing.
Right, so what we're trying to do is kind of meeting halfway back to where we were, instead of going just, the owner could have just, scrapped the whole thing and started over, but we just encouraged to keep part of that, and so we tried to do the research to make sure that what structure was there was original, and try to build onto that structure. And then improve the materials, because they had really regressed as far as the quality of the materials, with the shingle and the siding and the brick even being not even the brick that you might use in a situation like that. So if you look at the material sheet, let's pull the material sheet up if you can do that. Where is it? Okay, can you move to the material sheet? Okay. So just looking at different brick and roofs and siding and metal roofs, just looking at I guess a cleaner palette per se, and something more that would be indicative of that era. And so I think the quality of materials will really make the difference, because right now, I mean, when you see the drawing, you see it in black and white, and you don't get to see the tactical qualities of the materials that really bring back that historic richness that a historic building has. So that's one of the things that we're encouraging to do. And like you said, the artisan siding is a great siding. I like to use it whenever I can, and then using either the diamond or the slate type roof. I do like the diamond for this particular version or this particular architecture, if we can find that. And the brick is just similar to that era, so it's not actually.
I'd like to thank the architect who's made this presentation for the obvious time you've spent preparing for the presentation and the thoughtful work that you've done. It's exactly the kind of presentation that this commission appreciates. So thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Michael, we really do appreciate it, and you are bringing this house to life when it doesn't have much character. It is a non-contributing house. It has been added on multiple times. And because of that, I think there's more leeway here
Yeah.
than what you might normally have. So, does anyone have any questions?
Diane, hey, it's Virginia.
Hey, Virginia.
I just had a couple of questions. On the second floor, is that balcony door the only window or door for that living space?
All right, so you're asking what
No,
about?
we are looking at the possibility of putting a dormer possibly on this side, but we haven't. I would come back to the board at this point. Right now, we're still kind of in schematics as far as the floor plan is concerned. And, but I did want to put this in front of you guys now so you can kind of see our direction, because I feel like this is a process. This is, you know, and if there's anything that we want to change, obviously we'll bring it back and show you to, we would like to add this or that, so.
But at this present time, this is what you're going to go
Right, at this
with
present time, right, yeah,
okay.
we're this.
Okay. Does that answer
My
your
only other
question?
comment is I agree with Diane. I do have somewhat of an issue with the balcony on the front. I appreciate the proportions and the work that's gone into it. I just wonder if it would be better served to have that same shed roof instead of the balcony. I'm struggling with that a little bit.
I would agree too. I think if it was a master bedroom, I could understand the balcony more, but if you said it's not the master bedroom.
It has more to do with kind of engaging the street. The owner wants to be able to engage the street from up above, I guess. And
What was the last part you said?
the owner wants to engage the street, I guess, so to speak. You know, sit on the balcony and have a mint julep, you know, or something like that.
He's got a big front
Something like
porch to do that.
Yeah. Well, he likes to be higher, I guess. I don't know. But it's just, you know, it's just one of those owner requested things, you know, and you know, just trying to go with their program, so.
Okay, does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Virginia, Jack, y'all okay?
I'm good.
And Virginia, you are with the exception of the balcony?
Yeah, I am. I just wonder if that's something to discuss, or
Would that
if
be
if he's coming back. I don't know if that's something that we could discuss with the owners when he comes back with the dormers or anything like that.
If that was an upstairs living area, would that be better?
well, I think we could understand it a little bit more.
Yeah,
if it were
I do
one
think
estimate.
that's one thing we're looking at, is that being an upstairs living area, and then the bedroom would be down the way, just one space, so.
So now I struggle with how to present this. Would it be something that your client would entertain if we said, we love all of this, but could you?
That was the one thing that he wanted out of the whole elevation.
Got
I
it.
can tell you that.
Got it.
Is he wanted a balcony. Actually, he wanted a bigger balcony. So I would be coming back in front of you trying to do a bigger balcony,
Well,
or,
yeah,
or
like I said
even
before.
demo the building,
Yeah.
you know? So,
This is a non-contributing, like I've said
yeah.
before, so.
I mean, I kind of held my hand a little bit behind my back and kind of made it more of a contributing building than it was classified as, but I did that out of respect for the architecture.
Okay.
And and you know, it's obviously less to have to rebuild that portion of the building for the owner from that standpoint, but that's not something they would be worried about. You know, they could just, you know, go with a whole new house. But I, you know, from my standpoint and my love of preservation, I wanted to preserve that and then add on to that. So that was my my direction or my advice to the owner was to do that. And so, anyway, so I kind of put myself in that position by making it a little bit more contributing probably than it is. But I mean, in let's be honest, I mean, it really is more contributing than what it's been classified as, you know. So if we're, you know, if we're doing what we're supposed to do and try to do something good for Oxford, then we should try to preserve that history and then try to build on that. So that's what I try to do, and with the owner's program of what they wanted to do. So that's what we came up with.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Do I have a motion on the floor to either?
Sure. I would say move as drawn and include in that materials as presented. I just think that's really, he's presenting great materials. To me, they're gonna make all the difference I know this is not all in the motion. They're gonna make all the difference in the house. So, I mean, as drawn, materials as presented, and then any changes, any deviations from that, I think they need to come back and see the city or see us, whatever the case may be, according to Kate.
Would that also include staff conditions?
Well, I mean, I think the staff and the commission are on the same page, but I mean, what I don't want to see is cheap party siding and regular old shingles and all that, because all of a sudden it turns into a dormitory and a house.
No, that's not gonna happen.
Or the way it's presented right now, it really does, it's a huge improvement and it does look good.
Yeah.
Balcony notwithstanding, but I think we can compromise on that balcony, getting everything else.
I think Kate's just asking whether or not.
I was hoping we'd include the staff conditions.
Subject to the staff's conditions. That
Sure, okay, then can you?
Right.
To
The windows and doors and the
Yeah.
interior. Oh, great.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I want to work. I want to work with the staff.
The
And
materials as presented.
Right, but you know, that make a difference. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, so will
Absolutely.
you restate it saying
Okay,
that you
I would
approve
move-
of this?
That we approve this as drawn with the materials as presented, and any deviations from that will either go before this commission or to the staff, and the staff will make the judgment as to whether or not that is their purview or ours shared.
and subject to the other two staff conditions.
Yes.
Well, of course.
Just making sure we're getting that.
That's the motion if you've got all that.
And do we have a second to that long motion?
A second.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a lot of seconds. Any more discussion on the subject? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then the motion stands.
thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Kate, Ben, do y'all have anything for the commission?
Everyone, please remember our special meeting at noon tomorrow, which will be held in this room
At 12,
to discuss the Edmondson case.
at 12 noon? Yes. Is that for approval or another review?
It's not a complimentary review, it's a vote. They have a case, yeah.
Okay. All right, meeting adjourned.